Fugu?
Can you buy a barrel? I wanted to buy a whole barrel. Can you do that?
An empty one. An empty one.
An empty. You can't sell a full one, right? These are liquor laws.
Yeah, federal law prohibits us from tasting and selling it through our facility here because we make it here. We have to go through a third party, or distributor, and through a liquor store.
Where will we be able to buy the vodka and the rum?
Vodka and rum you can find, for the most part, at Bevmo's. I believe on the website there's maybe a list of stores where you can find our spirits. You can find gin, which is called Old Grove, 2 types of rum, a barrel-aged and a clear rum, both under the name Free Sheets, and as well as Fugu vodka, which is now out in stores.
Are these barrels
What does Fugu stand for?
one use, or are they can be used again?
It depends. If you're making bourbon, it's 1 use. Whiskey, you can age in a used barrel. Or we can take the barrel and age our beers in it.
Where'd you guys get this from?
This was custom made for us by Vendo in Kentucky.
Wow.
It's a 500-gallon copper still. It started off with that stainless steel unit over there, which is really just a 7-barrel fermentation tank that Yusuf and a couple of his buddies turned upside down, welded the steam jacket on it, and then put together the column and all the piping. That's where it all started, and then 2 years, almost a little over a year ago, this guy showed up. Making a spirit is really similar to making beer. You use grains as a sugar source. We combine the grains in the hot water in our mash tun, extract those sugars, take the liquid, put it over into one of these fermentation tanks, use a different strain, a different style of yeast to ferment. Once it's done, we take that liquid, put it into the still, turn up the heat. Alcohol will vaporize at a lower temperature than water, so it starts to vaporize and rise up through the column first. Inside there's various copper plates, and that causes the vapor to recondense, fall back down, then vaporize again, and as it gets higher and higher, it gets more pure, it gets more pure. About the height of the column we have here turns out about 130 to 140 proof liquid. So that second tube is the condenser unit. The vapor will rise up through the first column, eventually through there. We use water to recondense, and it runs out into this basin here. Inside there's 3 different areas that we call heads, hearts, and tails. The heads are the first portion of any distilling that comes out. That's pretty much all poison. We just dump it. After a period of time, they test it and determine they've moved into the hearts. That's where all the flavor, all the aroma is. That's what we're going to keep. That's what will eventually go into a barrel or get saved and bottled later. The tails, we can keep a certain portion down to a proof level and reuse that in the next distilling. You can see some of these barrels over here says whiskey tails or gin tails. That will get added into the next distilling and we'll get more usable alcohol out of it. Difference between whiskey and bourbon is bourbon needs to use 51% corn in the wash, and it has to be aged for a minimum of 2 years in a heavily charred, unused American oak barrel. Whiskey has no age restrictions and can be aged in a used barrel. What else?
What does Fugu stand for?
Fugu is the meat of a puffer fish, and it's supposedly very delicious, but if it's cut the wrong way, it's poisonous and it will kill you. So that's where that yeah. Delicious, yet poisonous and dangerous.
Cool.
So that's Ballast Point Brewing and Spirits.
Woo!